Looks like we have a quorum. So maybe we have the roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Baxter.
Here.
Commissioner Flores. Mayor Marino.
Here.
Commissioner Powell.
Here.
Commissioner Sachs. Here. Commissioner Wise.
Here.
And Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
Thank you.
If you can, would you please stand for the invocation and the pledge? Please bow your heads with me. Let us pray silently together, each one of us according to our beliefs. Let us offer thanks for the blessing of fellowship around us. Let us be a source of hope for those in need. Let the feelings of love, kindness, and a well-directed yet gentle spirit always be reflected in our actions. And as my mom always says, let us leave the world a better place than we found it. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would ask if there's any additions, deletions, and modifications, but I really doubt it. We have one item on this workshop agenda today, and we actually have a format that we are going to follow. Today is going to be about selecting our new county administrator, and it's a candidate interview. And it is not a workshop, it's actually a regular meeting because the board will be voting, so there will be public comment. The workshop today is part of the county's recruitment process for our next administrator. I'm going to review the process thus far. The county collected resumes from interested applicants throughout the country. Once Human Resources reviewed all submissions and indicated those that met the board-designated minimum qualifications, a task force of board-appointed members of the community reviewed all of the eligible submissions and selected those they felt were most qualified for the position. This brings us to today. The candidate sitting before us met with each commissioner one-on-one yesterday and had three public forums where they answered questions. And as a note, if you would like to watch this event, it is on pbc.gov. Our intent today is to get to know these individuals before a selection is made. Additional information about the candidates can be found, again, on our website at pbc.gov. All four candidates will be answering questions from each of the commissioners, with all four answering the same question, similar to your format last night. Based on board directions, commissioners will be asking questions for 2.5 hours this morning, giving the candidates an hour lunch break, and then returning for another 2.5 hours worth of questions. So that will take us to 3:30. At 3:30, we'll take a 15-minute break. We'll come back if there is public comment, and it's not question and answer, it's just public comment. That will start at 3:45. Once the public comment is done, the board will discuss and render its decision. So please note that these interviews and the discussion that follow are being broadcast live on Channel 20 and are available again on pbc.gov. And to those in attendance, please refrain from applause or calling out during the course of these interviews. With that, I'm happy to introduce the finalists for the Palm Beach County Administrator recruitment, and in alphabetical order.
Mayor, may I be recognized? We need a motion to adopt the agenda.
We have a motion from Commissioner Flores, a second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor, all opposed. See that motion carries. Thank you very much. Sorry. So again, Mr. Joseph Abruzzo, Ismi Ayala Calazzo, Keith Clinkscale, and Patrick Rutter. Those are our four candidates for today. Based on board direction, each of you will have 3 minutes to answer the question. The commissioner who is asking the question has the opportunity to ask a follow-up question. And with the follow-up, you will have 1 minute. So it'll be 3 minutes for the original question. If there's a follow-up, 1 minute for that. Who's our timekeeper? Perfect. We have a timekeeper for today. We will rotate the order that the questions are answered. We will be beginning alphabetically with Mr. Abruzzo. Then the next question will start with Isami, and then with Keith, and then with Patrick. And the order of the questions will start with the district number. So as District 1, I will be going first, and then we'll go with District 2, District 3, District 4, and we will continue that on throughout the rest of the day. Make sense? Oh, God. Here we go. Therefore, Mr. Abruzzo, we begin with you, and since I'm District 1, imagine how that happened. We all have a whole list of questions, so if one of the commissioners takes your question, you get to move on to the next one. So my opening question for all of you, and we'll start with Joe. What makes you the best candidate for this position? Go. Hold on, stop the clock. Put your microphone on. Go ahead, see, there you go. All right, keep going.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a broad breadth of experience through many different sectors of our government. I actually lead an organization. I've built a culture. I've instilled innovation as far as modernizing systems, advancing AI. The leadership of our workforce at the clerk and comptrollers, I believe, speaks for itself. But I have been operating as your CFO, your treasurer, your auditor, the clerk to the board, the clerk to the circuit court, and operating our federal passports offices here. So I'm not just a former legislator. I'm very proud of the legislative duties, but I've been an integral government partner for nearly 20 years here in Palm Beach County. I feel that as a manager, I'm a strong leader that can help execute your visions and put them and implement them into our community. I think that's the most important part of being the county administrator, taking the will of this board and making sure that those actions are carried out. I feel that I've been tested, tried. I know what it feels like to make decision with my name on the door, like all of you, and I'm the only candidate right now up here that has been in that actual position of leading our second largest constitutional office right after the Sheriff's Department with over 1,000 different statutory duties. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. This is me.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I will argue that the county administrator position requires a combination of several skills. First is education, because you need to understand the challenges and have the academic background to be able to handle them correctly. Second, experience. And I have been blessed with, I'm going to say, a professional career that has spanned 25 years, where I have served and operated and performed as an engineer, as an attorney, and then most recently as a doctor in public administration. And this board mentioned several times during previous meetings that there was a need, there was a want to have a new set of eyes in the operation. Well, I am not really new. I've been here 6 years. But because I came in 6 years ago and I came from a different operation, I still carry a little bit of that process of Palm Beach County is a different place. It took me quite a lot of effort to understand how we operate, but that also gave me an opportunity to identify some areas where modifications can be made and improvements can happen. I have had the benefit during the last 6 years of implement some of those changes that I thought were needed under the areas that were directly under my purview. I do believe there are other areas where I can bring improvements to the table. And in doing so, I can put to the service of this board and therefore its constituents my experience that is proven and tested. It's not theoretical, as I said last night, in dealing with capital improvements, in dealing with regulatory requirements, in dealing with emergency management, and handling and responding to a board of elected officials that will set the policy.
Thank you. Keith.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I'm currently your Director of Strategic Planning and Performance Management. 7 years ago, the county administrator brought me on board to help us make decisions based off of data. The strategy that you operate today, the 6 or 7 strategic priorities that you operate today, I recommend it. The budget is based off of those 7 strategic priorities. I manage the metrics of every single department. I am the only candidate that has worked with every single department, looking at their organization, looking at their metrics, how they perform, and how they could actually do better. I'm also the only candidate that brings 30 years of industry experience from the private sector to the public sector. When I see a problem, when I sit in the budget meeting, I'm looking at how can we do this better? I am an operational excellence guru. I say that humbly. But I see process that need to be re-engineered. I see technology that needs to be enabled. And I see people that need to know that they matter. We have 7,000 employees. Culture will eat strategy for breakfast. If we cannot motivate, inspire, and utilize those people where they feel valued, rewarded, and recognized, then we have nothing. We don't produce a product. We produce services. And who produces those services? Our people. We have to value our people. We have to train them. We have to become a learning organization. All the way from the department heads down to the line, we need to be in training. Our workforce is changing. We need new skill sets. How do we motivate? Each generation that works for us has a different set of reward structure. I believe that I have the acumen and engineering background, an executive MBA. I work with Fortune 500 companies. I have had my own business, so I know what a delay in getting a permit means. I know when it's hard to work for a county, you're just going to go somewhere else. How do we fix that? I believe I'm the best candidate to take us to the next century, the next decade in Palm Beach County.
Thank you. Patrick.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. As someone who's been here 22 and a half years, I've been honored to grow through many positions throughout, starting in planning division as a deputy director, to running a department, to coming downtown as an assistant administrator, then being the deputy administrator. So I've seen a lot, grown a lot, learned a lot, shared a lot with our people too. And I think that's one of the things I bring to you is the knowledge of being around. And I say knowledge, and I would use the term history as well, without missing out on the chance to say adaptable, because none of us should be stuck in our ways. None of us should be married to specific thoughts. I think what we have seen through the years is when we have newer department heads, newer division heads, it is informative and great to hear those different ideas. I have that ability. I can bring you the history. I can tell you why we did things. I can tell you why we engaged a way we did. Doesn't mean we have to do it that way the next time. But I think I bring you that piece of knowledge that helps get you better results along the way. Understanding our employees, knowing our employees, valuing them, but trusting them. You got to earn their trust and then value that trust. Over 7,000 employees. At the end of the day, our employees are the ones who implement your policies. They're the ones that are on the front lines. Having their trust, knowing that when your administrator would give that direction, board gives the administrator direction, works its way through the department to a division, et cetera, when the employees know and understand they can value that, they might not fully understand it, but they can trust it and know it because they've not been misled, because they know it and they have that valued belief. So big thing is knowing them, being able to bridge that. Your policies, your directions, where you want to go with our employees, bringing those things home. So between my time here, what I know, the way I value so many of our people throughout the county, some who've been here a long time, some who've been here shorter periods of time, all those inputs are great, needed, necessary, and will keep us moving forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss, you are up, and Isame, you are first to go.
All right. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. My question to start off is, what is one specific bold change you would implement in your first year as county administrator? And what resistance do you expect, and how would you overcome it?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. And if you don't mind, I know you asked me for one. I'm going to tell you the 3 things that I think need to happen in short order to have significant efficiency improvements in this county and operationally on administration. And it actually has to do with something that I know is close and dear to your heart, which is technology. There are 3 processes in county administration or throughout the departments that are currently handled for the most part in a manual sense. Number 1, the agenda item process. Okay, we're still moving paper around, and I think it needs to be moved to an electronic process. Number 2, procurement, which affects every single county department. And I like to give the example as FDO director that I still post recommendations for award with a thumbtack on a bulletin board, which personally I don't like, so I would like that to be improved. And number 3, improvements to how we handle our human resources recruitment process. And granted, there have been some improvements lately, and I am 100% confident that under the leadership of Dr. Ken, we will see even further improvements. But I gave you 3, not 1, and my apologies for deviating a little bit from the scope of your question. But I gave you those 3 because those 3 carry impacts to all county departments. Those are county-wide processes that unless they are run in a more efficient way, you're losing and missing opportunities to then be able to allocate the resources that are right now used on heavy burden processes to then other needs. So I see those 3 things as key matters that need to be addressed in the next year to make our county more efficient operationally.
Would you like to address any resistance you expect and how you would overcome it?
Those 3 processes have not changed through the years because we have become accustomed to how we do it, right? I have stated before that I am an engineer at heart and an engineer by education. So I tackle all my projects exactly the same way. I tackle the projects by bringing those that are key stakeholders to the table, by having the open conversations as to what needs to happen to get to the end goal and the post that we're trying to achieve, by involving them so that we can identify the areas that need to be addressed, and then by setting milestones so that we can achieve the end goal. Resistance is not new. Have dealt with it many times throughout my career. Change takes sometimes time, and sometimes it takes determination to make it happen.
Thank you. Mr. Clinkscale, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I haven't. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's look at operational excellence. When we look at our budget, we have $1 billion of our budget dedicated to public safety. We're most likely not going to change that. We need public safety. We have the president living here. The next big bucket is $250 million for infrastructure. We need infrastructure. It's foundational to economic growth. When you look at the rest of the budget, and you look at what's coming from Tallahassee, and you look at what's coming from the federal, we have to figure a way to do things differently. We have to make some hard decisions. So, I would look at creating synergies between departments. During the BCC meeting, Commissioner Powell said, you know what, during the budget meeting, we can't get more water out of that rock. But I'm asking us to look at the rock differently. What if we made the rock a stone? What if we smooth the edges on how we do things? So when I say synergies, co-locating or even merging community service and youth services, like missions, looking at the family holistically, centralizing case management, co-locating, maybe merging, resilience and environmental resource management. These are not going to be popular. Co-locating, maybe merging, PZB and collections, collection sits in OFMB, PZ&B is in Vista. Collections, all they do is collect what code enforcement puts out. They should be talking. They should be rubbing elbows. Co-locating or maybe merging purchasing, OEBO, and contracts. They're all looking at the same mission on how we actually procure and give just due to small businesses as well. These are not popular, I'm sure, but from an operational excellence standpoint, we're going to be challenged. What if we lose property taxes? We are going to be challenged to do things differently. We're going to have to make some difficult decisions. Resistance, yes, but we can minimize that. We can minimize that by making divisions within departments and still providing centralized, really good laser service to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rudder?
Good morning. I'm going to look outside the county operations as an example. I'm going to talk a little bit about interaction with cities. And I think a bold move and a needed move is our interaction with our 39 municipalities. But for Commissioner Sachs, all of you have cities within your districts. And our relationships vary in ways, and they've varied throughout the years. We have two initiatives, which I'm kind of leading on right now, that are engaging with all of our cities, which will need to be brought to conclusion in short order. I think we have begun to establish a new level of trust, a new level of understanding. Does not mean we will ever be in agreement 100% of the time, and I don't think that should be the case. But if there's a basis of trust, there's a basis of understanding, there's a basis of belief that we're there, I think that moves us forward on other issues. When we go back to what the board took on just a few years ago on the housing bond, and as an external agency was preparing the housing, the housing plan for all, as they were working it, we continue to say, Palm Beach County, we're not the only ones who can do it. We need our cities to engage. We need them to be there, which is to say that relationship is also a two-way street. We need the engagement that goes back and forth. We need to take that big step forward ourselves and put ourselves out there, and we need the cities to respond in turn. I think that can be done more broadly and more effectively once we show ourselves and put ourselves out there and say, we are here to work because we know it needs to be done. I look at, it's interesting, when you look at the makeup of the county, it's about 43% of our population is unincorporated, so 57 is in cities. 80% of our landmass is unincorporated. There are a number of issues we have that are county-wide. There are a number of issues that this board sees that are specific to us in our unincorporated facet. So those relationships weave in and out, but I think pushing further our basis of trust and our understanding and our knowledge will help us with the next issue and the next issue and the next issue. Your question about resistance, I can't anticipate a lot of resistance, but I will take you back to, it's a bit of a different example, our emergency response. All of our employees are essential. When we started that 6-7 years ago, there was a lot of resistance from employees because they're all, during an emergency, called up to work. How you communicate, how you talk to our employees, how you share that information, why you're needed, why we're all there to work, any given issue that there may be. It's putting in the time, explaining it, giving everyone the opportunity to share their thoughts, and then moving forward with the mission.
Thank you. Mr. Abruzzo, do you need me to repeat the question?
I know, Commissioner. I'm going to answer your specific question about one issue, but I just wanted to address a couple points that were brought up. I couldn't agree with Isami more on board services. As you know, I'm in charge of board services. We've been ready on our side of the house to go paperless since I took office. So that is something we can enact as administrator immediately. Also with HR, I will save that for later. I'm sure there'll be some questions. I have some vision on HR and some experience from HR of how we handle it at the clerk's office. Dr. Keith's theme to me seems culture, and I could not agree more about the culture. And Patrick, interacting with the cities, Your point on that couldn't be more important. I've been meeting with city managers throughout this process, and I understand how they feel on disconnect, so I concur with you as well. But Commissioner, to answer your question, one particular item that I would like to look at, one of the things that I've been hearing, especially from small business owners and our development community, is that the biggest frustration with the process is not code. It is navigating conflict across departments. The developers may get one answer from ERM, and then another from Planning and Zoning, and then another from PRIM. Many owners don't understand that Palm Beach County is actually a collection of silos. That internal lack of coordination costs time, money, frustration, and quite frankly, sometimes credibility. Each project needs a point person empowered to manage it from start to finish, a unified direction from Palm Beach County, almost a concierge service. When they come in, there's a coordinator that all these different silos, as stated, is working with the small business owner or business owner, helping direct their project or their application, if you will. So I'm going to look at piloting this if I become your administrator to see how it comes along. I think we'll expedite the process quite a bit, and that would be one change. And Commissioner, your follow-up is pushback. Look, it's instilling in the staff, our incredible staff, that some changes are coming. We're going to be bold and try new things. We have, as you know, an incredible county operation already, but we could always improve it, and that's the type of leadership I'll bring.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
Good morning. First of all, I simply want to say thank you to all four of you for stepping up, being brave, and wanting to lead this county moving forward. So thank you for your dedication and willingness to want to serve. My question was going to be very similar to that of Commissioner Weiss, so I'm going to change this a little bit, more as a follow-up to the question that he just posed. And it's going to differ between the internal candidates and the external candidate. You've had the opportunity to observe and work with the current county administration. You mentioned that this would be a bold change you implement in your first year. Given that you've already served in the leadership role within the county, what barriers have kept you from initiating or advocating for this change before now? And how would your approach be different if selected as county administrator? And for the external candidate, that's a bold idea. From the outside looking in, what do you believe has prevented this change from being already made? And what gives you the confidence that you'd be able to overcome those challenges in your first year? And I believe
Mr. Clinsky.
Yes.
Do you need me to ask the question again?
I think I got it.
Okay.
I might miss a few pieces of it, but you let me know.
You want me to repeat it?
Repeat it, please.
Okay. So you mentioned that you'd be implementing the bold idea in the first year that Commissioner Weiss just asked. Given that you've already served in leadership role in the county, what barriers have kept you from initiating or advocating for this change before now? And how would your approach be different if selected as county administrator?
Okay, great. So especially with my background in operational excellence, I've observed the county since I got here. And it's been in some cases, very difficult because I've observed silos, I've observed filtering, I have observed the inability to express critical thinking, to offer innovative ideas. I suggested a cross-departmental team focus on process and efficiency, and it was denied. I've observed management by fear. Management by fear. People afraid to express their ideas, innovation, to contribute. I quickly switched from strategy of focus once I did the vision, mission, goals, and objectives and performance measures for the county and said, we have a culture problem. Those are the barriers. Culture, legacy, we've always done it this way. The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and not being rewarded for raising your hand and saying, I think we can do it differently. It's been squashed. So that's why I put my name in the hat. I said, okay, am I gonna sit back and be frustrated, complain, or can I try to make a difference? So I put my name in the hat. We need open, transparent. We need openness and transparent. We have silos, left to right, top to bottom. We have the department head meeting, which is just the department heads. We have the directors, which is just the directors. And you have the masses who are doing all the great work, who rarely get their just due in terms of reward and recognition. So yes, I've observed it, but I've also observed in the position that I sit, it's not much more I could have done. So I said, I'm putting my name in the hat so I can actually be in the driver's seat to change the culture, to change the culture. That's what I tend to do as your county administrator. Everyone will feel valued. Everyone will feel they matter, and everyone will feel what their role is and know their role in the vision, mission, and goals and objectives of this county.
So barriers to change, as I go back and think about it, certainly the easy part is you've got a benefit of being the new guy or gal who would be there. You have a distinct opportunity, and your next administrator hopefully will take good advantage of that unique opportunity in a new time, new spot being there. A big one for me is hearing from employees what they might want to see changed. So when I took over a planning and zoning building, I guess it was in 2016, I was coming back, I might have shared this with you, I was coming back from a conference, and I wrote up an email I was going to send to the PZB staff, kind of introducing myself. And I had a lot of soaring words in there and a lot of, high-minded thought and idea. And I stopped and I said, I'm not the one leading the charge on this. I need to know what they want, what they're hearing, what they're seeing, what they might want to do. And it did that. And we took a step back. I would apply the same way here. There's no time to wait. This is not a 2-year research tour by any means, but hearing, knowing what our departments want, see what they might not have asked in the past, what they might not have thought to ask about in the past. The benefit of new, the benefit of there being something different, taking advantage of that opportunity. The other part is sharing the message from the top that you're adaptable. We will be happy to share a process that we do now. It doesn't mean it's the perfect process, much less the only process, but it is the one there. You tell us we want to do something different. Allow us that opportunity, we'll share it, we will go make the new one happen. I use that as a discussion with the board, but I would take that same concept and apply it to working with our employees on adaptability. I've got history. I know the way things have been done in ways, but I'm adaptable, need to be, will be, and need to hear from others because there are better ways potentially to do it. And I think it's having that open door, those open ears to adaptability and wanting to change and wanting to hear what others have to say. And maybe you say no, maybe you say thanks, that might not work in the situation we're in, but that needs to be done. So big thing to me would be listening, hearing, finding the right solution, hearing what our staff has to say.
So I do have a follow-up for you, Mr. Rutter. You have been the deputy administrator for a year and a half. You have been the number 2. What has prevented you from doing, what have been the barriers for you to be able to implement your big, bold idea up to now? I mean, you sit pretty high right now in the current role. So what do you think have been the barriers? Why haven't you been able to get that big, bold idea that you have across the finish line prior to becoming county administrator?
So I think you hit it in a number of ways. I wouldn't say that, the ideas I've expressed, I come from it from a different viewpoint. We talk about budget. Your previous administrator was a budget person, grew up that way. A lot of us have learned it along the way. We might see it a little bit differently. The way we would want to interact with the board would be a little bit different. I wouldn't look at it necessarily as not being able to do it. I can look at a number of tweaks that we have made along the way, a number of modifications. When I talk about water resources and other points, we have made a number of strides and a number of pieces of movement along the way. But at the end of the day, you have a boss, and the boss makes the decisions. And we had a boss who listened to us, shared, and then we had to move forward with that vision. If I'm the boss or any of us up here will be the boss, would hope we'd do the same thing. Hear, listen, make a decision, go with it.
Mr. Brusso, do you need me to repeat the separate question that was phrased to you?
Thank you, Commissioner. I feel I have it intact, but if I miss a part of it, please come down on me. A few things. So from the agenda item for board services, that has been a frustration, quite candidly, with our office for some time. We've wanted to update that. It was completely a prior administrator's call that didn't want to work with us to get it implemented. What we did and what I did was set everything up so if there ever was a change, we would implement it. It actually started when Commissioner Kerner was mayor. He was working with me hand in hand to get our board services where he thought it needed to be and get rid of the paper, if you will. And by the way, Senator Sachs and I in the legislature, we were the last that saw the transformation from paper to digital. When we first started, everything was paper, so we've lived it in a robust way. I concur with Patrick. Budget, as you all know, I was actually coming to the board prior to the announcement of the resignation of Mrs. Baker to discuss different things that I believe myself and my staff have seen in the budget, especially the way that that extra money that our clerk's office earns for our residents and for all of you, how some of that money can be used and moved around at your discretion that I didn't believe was being disclosed. I was working, and my staff has been working with your staff to try to get that in right posture. We of course, received some resistance. The one item that I wanted to change that I was fortunate enough to answer for Commissioner Weiss, that's a new idea that I learned and nobody gave that to me. It was just an idea I had. Well, we need somebody to manage the workflow. I concur with Keith that the silos, you hear him say that a lot, but it's true. And I've learned that from being on the ground the past almost 5 months, digging in deep. So I will tell you that has been my experience with resistance. One thing I can tell you is that I'm extremely collaborative. That's how we've advanced our office. I'm collaborative with our state partners. I have a quasi job right now that's local. Part of my budget's funded by all of you. But the majority of my budget is funded by Tallahassee. So I'm the main constitutional officer in that position that have all these different pots that I have to have incredible collaborative working relationships to get our over 1,000 different statutory duties where they need to be. Thank you.
Commissioner, as all of you know, I sit in a particular position because I hold two roles, right? I am the Director of Facilities Development and Operations, and I am also an Assistant County Administrator. But as Director of FDO, I lead one of the largest departments in the county and one that by definition is an internal service provider. So when you ask what has kept you from advocating, I had to smile because I've been loud, I have been advocating like you have no idea and sharing with my colleagues, and I'm pretty sure they will confirm that, how I feel about the tools we have and where we should be heading. And I shared that information with the county administrator, and she knew how I felt. Now, that takes me then to the second part of your question. Why didn't you take on and initiated that process? And I'm gonna answer with what follows. Every staff member in this organization responds to a county administrator. And we are tools that the county administrator can use, our abilities, our skills, to be able to deliver on the policy you all have set. And I say that, and before I said that I lead facilities development and operations because FDO deals, for the vast majority, with what I like to call the non-sexy stuff, the stuff that you need to do to keep matters running. The 3 things that I recommended are things that are not as visible, but that they support your entire organization. Now, go back to the county administrator's role. When you have a tool where you have a resource that you can use and set for and use to move forward to deliver on your mission, and you have other pressing priorities, what do you do with that tool? You assign it to other things that are more pressing. Vanderbilt University, the procurement code, University of Florida before Vanderbilt, as of late, more recent, DEI on the staff side. So I've been, to this date, and this will continue to be the case for any administrator, responding to the priorities set. But I've been vocal. I think that, and I know, more than I think, I know, as a county department that is an internal services provider, that if we take away the inefficiencies from the process, it will free up time for staff to be able to do other stuff. But those changes are changes that will happen, again, on the non-sexy area, behind what is seen at a public meeting. They are purely operational.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward, you'll start with Mr. Rudder.
Thank you. And good morning, everyone. I know you all had a long day yesterday. We had a partial long day with you. My question is, people often ask, what does a county commissioner do? Which is quite a loaded question. My question for you is, for the benefit of the general public who may be watching, can you explain your understanding of the relationship of an administrator and a commissioner? I'm sorry, Mr. Rudder, you're first.
Yep, just making sure. What does the county administrator do? I think what I've learned
I'm sorry,
in my
to be
time-
clear, it's the relationship between the administrator and commissioners.
and the commissioners.
Thank you.
So that relationship, it probably is born of, in part, what the administrator does on a day-to-day and then working with the commissioners. So you are the policymaker. The administrator is one of 3 employees you directly hire. And what we know that has been historic and will not change is you want to know daily, hourly, weekly, be informed, be kept up to speed, know what's important. I think a lot of the relationship starts with helping parse and understand what would be important to you, what we need to know, what's priority, and how you want to consume that information and take it on. The relationship needs to be one of trust. We're going to deliver you bad news. We might be telling you things you're not going to want to hear. It's how we deliver it and how we share it, whether it's you can't get where you want to go the way you think you want to go, but there are other paths, or where you're looking to go flat out can't be reached. I think sharing that information, having those discussions early and having that trust between us that we are telling you what you need to hear, quite frankly. Those are challenging at times. And I think any administrator would love to make their bosses happy 100% of the time. We don't have that luxury. And that opportunity will not be there. But if you have the trust in your administrator, knowing that your administrator has worked with their staff and has developed that information and is giving you the best information, and it's not biased and it's not jaded, we are giving it to you straight, I would like to think that that trust and that understanding, that bond will be there, because that does need to be shared. And that's one of the hardest parts out there. I think, go back to the communication piece. what you may or may not heard this board, last year and a half or so, looking for next levels of communication, different levels of communication. As an administrator, look to find out where you want that to occur, be it in the budget process or just on a day-to-day basis, what you might be looking for differently. I would be here, we are here for you. How you want to do it, it's taking your feedback on it. So the interaction is a daily event, sometimes even more than daily, but making sure you're not caught blindsided, you know what's going on, and we understand from you where you're getting prompted as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to answer a question, if you will, under the pretext that the respect, relationship, and the trust is already there, although I recognize that's earned over time and through action. But one of the, first and foremost, when things come about, providing information, balance, and transparency. As county administrator, I would make sure that you always had the data, the facts, everything we have with whatever issue was occurring. But of course, those questions in a broader sense start with what you need in your district and such, but I'm speaking from in terms of we have agenda items, how do we go about it? And that, of course, first and foremost, as I said, is providing that balance and that transparency. Accessibility. Our relationship for everyone is my accessibility. Just to be frank, had discussions with my family knowing that I could be working 80 plus hours a week on call 24/7 to the wee hours of the night. I think our relationship is definitely going to be based upon when that I'm available for you, as I mentioned, 24/7, 365. I think that is paramount in this position for the monumental undertaking that it is. Execution. Our relationship is, and our trust is going to be measured, I believe, especially in your reviews. And I'm glad that you have reviews on us or whoever may come out of it. Very important. And the execution of what you needed in your district, how we work the budget process together, agenda items, I believe that's how we should be measured on, or partially measured on, the execution. So I think to sum up your question, what do I believe the exact question is, what do I understand the role is between us? You're my boss. I work for all of you. But to get us where we need to go, again, it's going to be data, execution, transparency, and accessibility.
Good morning again. I will say it's a relationship, it needs to be, a relationship based on respect. But it's not only human being respect, it's professional respect. It's respect that understands the commissioner's role and the board's role, and understands the administrator's role and staff's role. What do I mean by that? The administrator is not here to set policy. The administrator did not run on a ballot. The administrator does not represent directly the constituents you do. You're sitting at an elected seat precisely because you did that. And we owe you respect as an administrator and administrative staff for what you represent and bring to the table. I hope that the administrator will be able to have your respect. A staff person that is most proficient in helping you walk to the point where you want to be, meaning to say policy. That administrator should be a person that as a board, you should be able to come to him or her and say, I want to make it to that end. How do I make it happen? Find a way to do it. That is the role of an administrator, and in doing so, I will argue that part of that responsibility is making sure that we provide you with a full picture. And I'm going to use the example of what we just recently did with selection processes. We heard what you had to say, what you wanted the policy to be. You wanted to be more involved in the selection process. And we went back to the table and looked for a number of options and brought them back and said, tell us where you want to be. And once you set the policy, commissioners, we went back to the drawing board and said, okay, now let's address the procedures. Because we're here to deliver on that policy that you will establish. And that type of relationship requires, as I stated before, a mutual respect for what we are bound to do in our positions and a very high level of communication, and a two-way communication that ensures that we're truly listening and hearing to what you're saying, so that then we can deliver on your policy. I was telling a given commissioner this week that I enjoy finding those solutions. I really do. And I look forward to the opportunity of being able to serve you as the county administrator.
I want to be very, very clear. You are 7 bosses. You set policy. You were elected. You represent 1.5 million residents. I am your CEO. I am responsible for giving you unbiased, transparent, reliable data for you to make every decision you need to make. Not holding back anything, giving you the full picture, whether it's benchmarking other counties, whether it's data analytics, whether it's metrics, whether it's options, even recommendations for you to make the decision. Once you make that decision, my role is to implement to the best of my ability, utilizing the 7,000 employees to all march to what your direction was for me. On a lighter note, I'm sort of like your Google. I'm your AI. You want to do this? You come to me, say, how do I do this? What are the other counties doing? What type of results can I expect? Our job is to bring you every piece of data you need, unbiased, for you to make a great decision. We have to have a good relationship. I say all the time, my mentor told me when I was came out of engineering school and started my first job, and I really went into a manufacturing floor and just started pointing out all the things that's wrong. And everybody was in an uproar. And he pulled me in his office and said, Keith, sit down. Because when your first job, you want to make an impact. He said, Keith, R comes before I. I said, what do you mean, sir? He said, relationships before issues. Build a rapport. Build some relationships. Because then they're willing to take some advice from you. They trust you. If you just go in like a bull in a china shop and just start suggesting what's wrong, what's broken. So I'm going to build relationships with each of you. That comes with earning your trust, talking to you regularly, informally. You know, I love the fact that I had meetings with you in your office. And a couple of you, Maria Sachs, Commissioner Sachs, said, stop by anytime. You have an idea? I love that. I think we have to have an informal as well as a formal relationship so that you trust me to give you everything you need to make a great decision.
Commissioner Sachs, you're going to start with Mr. Abruzzo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank each and every one of you for having the commitment, first to serve the county as administrator, and second to go through this process. This is sort of a test of fire, and I have to say you've all done very, very well. And I'd like to thank the public, those who are here today in person, as well as those who are watching on Channel 20, because it shows that we have a public that is looking forward to this process and wants us to have the very best county administrator to lead our 1.5 million people. So with that, let me ask Senator Abruzzo or Clerk Abruzzo, let me start with you. What particular leadership trait do you have that makes you the best candidate for county administrator? And where and when have you used this trait and to what result?
Thank you, Commissioner Senator Sachs. It starts with honesty, which leads into bringing people together. You have to have the trust, and I'm speaking from a constitutional administrator perspective. You have to have the trust of those who work for you to get anything accomplished. That's the foundation. And what we did in the clerk's office, we worked very hard on our culture. We brought in, I brought in from my military background, but not in a military type way. Honor, respect, devotion to duty. That's our motto at the clerk's office. You can come into any one of our offices, from the courthouse to our governmental center, and you see that in every single office. And it ultimately turned into the clerk family. And I recognized that when you bring people together and create that culture, the productivity for our residents, for our constituents, goes way up. So I would say my strongest trait, to answer your question as a leader, is coalescing, bringing people together, and providing that leadership. You almost have to be a leader of leaders, because your top staff, your assistant administrators in our world, the chiefs, they are also extraordinary leaders. It's why I believe you see many of them here today. So you have to be a leader of leaders, and that all starts with trust and bringing people together.
Good morning. I have shared with some of you during the one-on-one meetings that I have an open door leadership style. And I say that and I mean that. And I will share with you something that is probably not widely known. FDO has about 400 employees. I meet with every new employee that comes on board, every single one of them. And I do that because I want to make sure that they hear from the director of the department. My door is open, but my door is open not only to say hi and stop by and know who ISME is, but my door is open so that you can come into this office and bring the ideas, the questions, the challenges, so that you can be creative in this place. I want you to feel empowered to bring change to what we do. And I want you to feel empowered as an employee to be able to question our processes and to make them better. I tell all new employees, and I tell those that work alongside me in FDO and in other operations, that the only requirement I have is that we be respectful. And I tell them as well that I have very thick skin. And what do I mean with that? I think that greatness can only be produced or achieved by having honest conversations that sometimes are difficult, but that makes us look deep into what we are doing and make us rethink how we are implementing. Those conversations lead to stronger teams that coalesce better and that can deliver on their mission. I'm gonna leave you with this thought. On my wall at FDO, at my FDO office, I have a picture that reads, "Leaders Made Here." And I believe it to be part of my mission as a professional, not only to deliver on the job I'm supposed to do every day, but to make sure that I open the path for those that are working alongside me or that may come after me.
So I wish Joe was here, because I really wanted to let him know that I echo everything he said. He stole my thunder. I'm a culture advocate, big culture advocate. If you don't have a great culture, you can't get things done. I am a leader of leaders. I create leaders, not followers. Give you an example. When I left Palmtran, first I started as a dispatcher and then became the head of performance management for Palmtran. Created the entire metric structure, the PT STAT program. Todd knows because he hired me. He also is responsible, Todd Barlerin, for saying, Virginia, you got to take a look at this guy. We need this for the county. And then I came over here and did it for all 35 departments. But when I left, Christian Ladano was my project coordinator. I poured so much into that young man that when I left, it did not skip a beat. He knew exactly how to step in my role. Now I'm here in the county. If I should become your county administrator, Marcella, who works for me, She can start day one as the Director of Strategic Planning and Performance Management. She would have to earn it, but I pour into people who work for me. I create leaders. The true test of a leader is when you leave, what's left? Succession planning. You have built a leader. You have built not followers, but more leaders. That's been my premise. One of the, I believe was Commissioner Woodward, you asked me, what would your employees say about you? I said, amazing. She would say, I'm amazing. I truly believe that. I say that humbly. Because I show that they matter. I have empathy. I pour into, I tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is how you need to improve. This is what you need to do. Change, and then I let them mimic me. I take them with me everywhere I go. A good leader is not insecure about having smart people work for them. They're not insecure about allowing people to have critical thinking or give ideas or even be smarter than them. I think I am a great leader, and I think my record shows for it.
So the first point for me on talking about leadership, willingness to listen, whether it's listening to your other assistant administrators, your department heads, or the staffers down the line. We need our folks to trust us and to know that we want to hear them. And I think it establishes that leadership trait when you can hear what they have to say, whether it's a new idea, whether it's a complaint, whether it's a more mundane thought. I think that speaks to it a long way when you have that, whether you want to call it the open door or just that open ear, and you'll respond to that email you get, because we get plenty of them from our employees along the way. Another part is full acknowledgement that none of us up here know everything. We might know enough to be dangerous about a variety of topics. We might know a lot about a given specific topic, but we don't know it all. Keith was touching on it, trusting those department heads, trusting those assistants, trusting those folks down the line. When I'm up here at zoning meetings, my favorite meeting is when I don't have to talk, because I know the agenda's run through, everything's run fine, our staff has answered the questions, it's been handled the way it needs to be handled. And you have the faith and trust in those folks down the line to do it. They need to know that you have the faith and trust in them as well. And that would come from how you lead. A big one for me as well is leading from the front, because people want to see you out front. They don't want they want to know that you're out front, but leading quietly out front, not jumping up and down. And I can go to a variety of thoughts. Certainly during COVID era, building any number of testing sites and vaccination sites from ground up. Myself and a number of other senior staffers were the ones out in the field doing the work. And I think you earn respect, and you can show leadership when you're out front on these. Taking it back to what we do here, whether it's reviewing with you on Mondays for board meetings, having the information, having the knowledge, but trusting our people, our staff who are there to answer your questions and being able to do that. It's a balance. You want to know that your administrator understands everything, but your administrator needs to trust their people and be able to explain it to you as well. So a blend of those points. And I think through my time, I've gotten to experience all of that.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Baxter.
Good morning.
Start with this.
Well, thank you for going through this process. I don't think anyone has ever seen anything quite like it. It's been very open, very transparent. Last night was a little fun, seeing everyone, and so many questions up here have already been asked. There's so many we asked yesterday in private interviews. We'll ask again, and I'll say that Commissioner Powell and I are at a little bit of a disadvantage because we get to go last, right? So everyone asked all the really good questions, I have to say, from culture to budget, technology, changes we'd want to see. We touched on briefly micromanaging. We've touched on a lot of different topics. And I think the 5 commissioners that have already gone did an amazing job with those questions and covered quite a bit. One of the questions I wanted to elaborate on was the role of an administrator. And how do you perceive that role, and I'm going to give you some context to my question. We've seen protests, we've seen elected officials getting murdered, injured, so on and so forth. We've seen anti-Semitism taking place. We have seen so many horrible things going on. What would you do as an administrator to ensure us as commissioners and going forward our safety? What would you do?
I go first, right? So Vice Mayor, thank you for the question. I'm going to tread as lightly as I can and carefully as I can, trying to be responsive to your question, but knowing as the department head that oversees security services that I cannot go into details, because if I go too deep, then rather than doing you a service, I will be doing you a disservice, right? We don't discuss security-related matters in public, but I will say this. We have a security services division that works very closely with the sheriff's office, right? And we have a division head that coordinates continuously to make sure, number one, that you all are informed as board members of what our security strategies are, that you are kept abreast when they need to change and that when they need to be modified. And we benefit from the latest and greatest technology and intelligence that PBSO has, because they communicate with us to let us know, you may need to tweak here, we need to send you additional support there. I will also say that as part of our capital improvement projects, this renovation of this building included, we are taking the additional steps to make sure that our facilities are secure as they should be. I think that also should take into consideration, must take into consideration that environment is changing, and we all see it. We had a very difficult weekend based on the news, right, and very unfortunate. And I'm saying that then to state, we have had security procedures and initiatives that have worked well for many, many years, but the reality is changing. And to that, I will add, we need to remain nimble to make sure that we are addressing and keeping everyone, commissioners included, and obviously you are the face of the policies that the county implement, while adapting to the newest reality. And again, I told you I was going to tread carefully. I cannot disclose security strategies, so.
So I'm going to be a little conventional and unconventional. PIB. First one, unconventional, is I'm a man of faith. So the P is prayer. I'm always praying for this entity, and I will continue to pray a hedge of protection around administration as well as the commissioners. So I hope I don't offend anyone, but prayer is part of my life. Intentionality. I think I have to be intentional about understanding where you have concerns, the 7 of you, addressing those concerns immediately. I don't feel safe here. I don't feel safe here. I don't feel safe when we come downstairs. I don't feel safe when I come to the door. I don't feel safe coming from my car. I need to hear that from you. I'm always big about, in problem solving, hearing the problem from the source. I can suggest something, but if that's not going to solve your problem, if that doesn't make you feel safe, I'm not solving the problem. So I need to understand from each of you, and it may differ from a Commissioner Powell, from a Vice Mayor Baxter, in terms of what safe means, what it feels like. So I need to be intentional about providing safety, personalized for each of you. The B, I really need to, and we don't do enough of this, is benchmark. Other people have been in these positions before in terms of other counties, Secret Service, security agencies. What are they doing? How are they doing it? How are they securing, how are other counties securing their commissioners? What would really be good is, okay, now what took place in just recently, what measures are they going to put in place? Because they're going to really take a deep dive and figure out how to make sure that doesn't happen again. So we want to look at that and say, okay, if that's what they're going to put in place, maybe we need to benchmark that and put that in place here ahead of time proactively.
Two different levels I'll touch on. One more recently. Well, first of all, let me start. We do have an incredible security services functionality in FDO, and the ability to call up assistance, the ability to provide what needs to be done is incredible. I've had occasion many times to be reacting to potential challenges we might have before meetings, very short period of time before them, and the reaction and the responses we get, you need to know that you have a great crew behind you that makes it work. Most notably, we just had an item, board had an item just a month ago, a zoning item, that necessitated elevating our security presence. We had done that at an advisory board meeting, then we did it here with you. That comes about because we're getting the information because our security service has relationships with law enforcement. They're sharing the information they know, and they do their best to anticipate. We take nothing for granted. We anticipate. We might over-anticipate, but that would be where we want to be in that protecting all of us in meetings and other spaces. That's why we're here. When I go back to, I think back to our COVID era, and we had a number of tough meetings, and we had a lot of law enforcement presence at a number of them. I look at my phone, I've got 5 or 6 deputies numbers who we saw consistently that are still there, that probably worked with on a very consistent basis for close to a year. But protecting this board, protecting it, is a lot of it is anticipating, knowing when we need to elevate postures, and working with them and working with law enforcement if we need to confirm that our suspicions and our concerns are correct.
So I'm going to follow up on my question. So after recent, what you were referencing a month ago, the death threats that were sent to certain board, what level, where's that threshold for you?
That makes it, don't say this in a trite fashion, that makes it easy when there are death threats out there. That's a non-starter. We go to a next different level. That is not the threshold for reaching it by any means. Understanding where that one that we're speaking about, for instance, it was an item that had appeared before a number of agencies. They had tougher words spoken, including death threats. I think law enforcement tracks that. So we know, and again, our security service is on top of it. If we know there are going to be significant crowds and it's a controversial item in and of itself, not rising to any level or any word that it's rising to any level, we're still going to have additional security and enhanced security, if nothing else, on the crowd control side, because we're not going to let it go to bad places. There's no set answer, Vice Mayor, but over-anticipating maybe would be the standard I would say we apply.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We are in a new era of safety and security, and I commend, first and foremost, PBSO and all the help that they have given us all. But I will tell you that, and I'm putting my security hat on from the Coast Guard, and what we've seen in the news, when they come, it quite often isn't times of crowded places, public appearances. They look at our homes. They look at where they feel we will be the most vulnerable, many of these assailants. And it's a problem. It's a serious problem. I will tell you, when I became clerk, and you could listen to my speech when I was sworn in for the first time, I talked about security for our office, because what I learned through INDOC in this building, we did not have the second floor secured. Anybody could come in and out. So I led the effort to get that closed. Everybody has to swipe in. No one can piggyback anymore. As clerk of the court, criminal court, when they get their documents, it doesn't have the judge's name or the prosecutor's name. It says Joseph Abruzzo across it. So I've always been quite concerned for our staff. You all provide, because I asked for it, a contract with PBSO so we can have deputies in our office for our employees. The 9th floor, which is our office, quite frankly, there used to be conference center doors that were just singularly locked that you could easily kick in, that somebody could have penetrated right from the elevators. So we had to drywall that, close it up, and do a buzzer system because, again, you have to look at the vulnerability of what we do and then the typical workplace shootings. However, after about a year or so of clerk, as you all know, because of you, we became the largest investor in Israel bonds. That is a great honor, but yet comes with risk, no question. To be out there in the public domain is the top supporter of Israel with the hatred, the disgusting hatred that falls upon them. I have to concur with this, me. Obviously, there's some things I cannot speak about, but I cannot convey enough, the best way I can, that the security threats are extremely real, especially for all of us. Dr. Keith, you said seeing what other counties are doing. That is something that, as administrator, in the first, forget 100 days, 10 days, I do want to look at how some of the other counties, like down in Miami-Dade, how they're securing you all. I believe they have a much more robust system in place for you, especially in the new era. This isn't about privilege and getting driven around and the naysayers. I know I have to stop, Vice Mayor, but it's a real concern.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell, you're up, and Keith, you're first.
Thank you, Mayor. And each of you has a role that you serve in currently. And the county administrator position, of course, would be a different role. How do you perceive where you're at now and what would be the differences and similarities to being county administrator? In addition, why make the move from your current role to county administrator, whether that be as deputy, compare and contrast, operations, assistant, clerk? How do you perceive the similarities and differences between your current role and moving into the role of county administrator?
Thank you for that question. I've contemplated this quite a bit. And I want to be perfectly honest, I think I've seen or experienced or watched sort of an erosion of trust. An erosion of trust from the Board of County Commissioners and staff. And I think we need to repair that. I think you need to feel that we are being transparent, we're being unbiased, we're giving you the data that you need to be successful. And I think I can repair that. In my current position, I have not been able to do that. I have not had the visibility and the access to you to bring that to you. The other is that I really truly believe that we have, in some cases, some culture problems, some workplace culture problems. Kindness, gentleness, making people feel like they matter, understanding them, giving them the ability to do critical thinking. I truly believe that we are already great, but I think we can be extraordinary. I say all the time, good is the enemy of great, and great is the enemy of extraordinary. And we have been good and great so long. The other thing is I think I'm the only one that is not a career government employee. And so I have a different lens that I bring. And I'm watching and seeing the inefficiencies. I'm watching and seeing how things can be improved, how we can do things differently. And I haven't had the ability to influence that. In this new role, it's so funny because I speak during Feature Mind and to the employees all the time. I go down deep into different departments. So I know what they're feeling, and I know how they view the county. They love this place. But people leave not because of their job. They love their job, but because they leave because of their supervisors or who they report to. So what do? We train them. We give them skill sets. The problem is some folks have been here, this is all they know. We've taken great individual contributors and made them supervisors and managers and department directors who may not have the skill set in dealing with multifaceted workforce. We have to change that. Our people are our asset. We have to invest in them. And I think in this role, I can do that.
Differences and similarities. Certainly, there's an obvious. Administrator reports directly to the board. And you want to hear from the administrator, and the administrator wants to hear from you. Through different roles through the course of time, have had those relationships and have had calls. This is next level. This is on a daily basis, if not more. So you're changing the tone, if you will, right out of the gate. And that's a soft one, an easy one. Administrator, the buck stops with the administrator. There's no more someone else above you. If you make a mistake. When I was in the planning division, I had a planning director as a boss. When I was the planning zoning building director, I had an assistant administrator as above me. There's no more. Your name's on the letterhead, and we're there to implement your policies, your pieces. But your administrator is the one who bears that end responsibility. And as much as through a division of 30 some odd people, a department that had about 300 people, or a county overall with 7,000, that's an immense responsibility. And that is a big difference. And we go back to trying to understand everything, knowing enough about everything, knowing a lot more about some things, but having a breadth of knowledge back to knowing and trusting all your department heads and knowing them. Where, through the course of time, I've worked with probably about half of our departments, directly supervised them through time, but I've got a number of others. I know the people, but I've not had the opportunities or get back behind the curtain and really fully understand. And I think that's part of where that would go. At the end of the day, speaking to both points, your administrator is the one that you're going to call. If there's a challenge, if there's a problem somewhere down the line, there's an excellent chance you're going to want to call the administrator, and they're going to have to figure out how to respond, how to get you the answer you need, put you in touch with the right people. That is different, yet not a lot different than where I sit now as deputy. I've seen a lot more in the past year and a half than I saw in 5 some odd years as an assistant administrator, which was markedly different than I saw as a few years as a department head. So as I've moved progressively through the ranks and gained more responsibility and had to respond differently, I've experienced that. This is just that next level, that top level that you have to be prepared for.
Thank you, Commissioner. As Patrick said, differences and similarities. Well, the glaring difference, as you all know, by applying to be your county administrator, I'm giving up independence as an independent constitutional officer, where I'm the leader of the organization and answer only to the voters for you as the 7 bosses. I will tell you, Commissioner Woodward asked me a question yesterday in that regard about what if a boss had something to say about you, what would they say? And it actually dawned on me after, Commissioner, that when I served in the United States Coast Guard, there's a medal given. It's not just given freely. It's for, and what you all instilled, evaluations and a perfect record in your service, which I was fortunate enough to earn and have on my chest for having perfect evaluations and perfect service record. So that would be a clear difference of going back to a role where I have oversight and bosses. The similarities, I believe, are extreme in the sense that as an administrator, constitutional officer, we have almost the exact same amount of departments that you have at the county. We have just under 30 departments. I know you have 35 at the county. But to me, it's all about span of control, meaning, yes, and I've read some criticism in the paper. You know, I only have anywhere between 650 to 700 employees. Now you're going to 6,500, 7,000 budgeted. But again, it's about the span of control. You're meeting with your department heads, and you're working through all the different objectives and responsibilities that you have. And I do want to give one example, if I can, Commissioner. Speaker Rubio was presided over my swearing into the House, so I've known him for quite some time. I watched him go from 20 to 30 employees as Speaker to 20 and 30 employees as U.S. Senator. And no, by no means am I comparing myself to Secretary Rubio, but what I want to say is I've watched him go transition never as really an administrator to now being the administrator of over 1 million employees overall under the Secretary of State. And when you look at span of control and you look at the county, it's about the management philosophy, so I see a lot of similarities within that. And I think there was a second part of your question, if you would, Commissioner, unless I answered.
I think you answered it, but it was just a compare and contrast.
Got it. Thank you.
Sorry. It was compare and contrast and then the differences. Thank you.
Commissioner, I tell every employee that joins FDO that depending on where they want to go on their career path, they are at the place to be. And I say that because I stated before that FDO is an internal services provider. And that means that we are, I'm going to say this politely, in everyone's business. We interact with every single department in this county. We interact with every single constitutional officer in this county, and we provide them services. Depending on the type of projects we are pursuing at the time, we interact with a significant number of the municipalities. And I'm saying that to answer the part of the question that deals with similarities. Obviously, I wouldn't like to compare FDO as a department with the entire county because the administrator, without doubts, carries a heftier load. But I do think that the ability to operate a department that has to provide services and that sees every one of those departments as customers and every one of those constitutional officers as customers gives me an advantage of knowing how those relationships need to be built. Clerk Caruso mentioned the security improvements done on the ninth floor. I'm pretty sure he remembers. Those were done by FDO. The contract for security services runs through FDO. And I mentioned this because when I started as Director of Facilities Development and Operations, and rightfully so, the county administrator kept me close, saying, don't go yet and meet with the Chief Judge, and don't go directly unless I can go with you. And we developed a level of trust that I can very confidently say I am able to contact tax collector Gannon, property appraiser Jax, Clerk Caruso, directly the Chief Judge, to engage in the services they require for their operations. So that is, I'm going to say, the most pressing similarity, the big difference. I have and had one supervisor. The administrator has 7. And that is important because each one of you have different takes on the matter of county business. And you come together as a board to set policy as a group. And that makes a difference. You need an administrator that can work with you one-on-one, and there will be some decisions that are not policy made that county administrator might be able to accommodate as part of the operational needs. And there will be other decisions that county administrator will say, we need to go back to the board. I need policy direction. And then we will make it happen. So I think that's the biggest difference.
Thank you. We are done with our first round of questions. And it's only taken us an hour and a half. We will start our second round of questions, and we will start with District 2. Commissioner Weiss. And Mr. Rutter.
Thank you. I hadn't. All right. So tell us about a time you failed in a leadership role. What specifically did you get wrong? Who did it affect? And what did you learn that changed how you lead today?
I'll give you one that sticks with me that, as I look back at a career in life, is nowhere near as important, but it still is burned and seared in my head. When a previous job at the city of Weston, we'd implemented a new system for notification to residents within, certain radius. First meeting that came about, I didn't do it, missed them, forgot to do it. And hat in hand, go talk to our city manager and say, I screwed up and did not implement that piece. And burned in my head from that moment. He was gracious, walked me through, go fix it, don't ever mess up again, sort of thing. That one was a function of youth as much as anything, why it's seared in my head. When I look at my time here, I can think of, there's not one that jumps out, but because I spent so much time, especially early in career, in zoning world, finding where we've had incorrect information in reports that get called out by whether advisory board members or elected bodies, and working to bridge the gaps. Because I have always looked at it as a supervisor, I bear that ultimate responsibility. It might have been a staffer down the line, but I'm the one that will stand up behind it and bring it home. And I've had a number of them through time that have had flat out wrong information. And a staffer gets called out, and I'm not going to let them get called out. I will take that one on and take it forward. So I think that has happened a number of times. The response, the reaction to that is it catastrophic for the moment insofar as you can't proceed and move forward, or is it something that needs to be explained? But you're always ready to pivot, you're always ready to move, you're always ready to answer because you need to do that. But you should let that stick with you. And I think, too, going back to my youthful experience versus today, sharing that with those who might have made the mistake down the line, don't let it happen again, learn from this, move on. So, again, you can see something that was 25 years ago, that's stuck in my head.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Abruzzo, do you want me to repeat the question?
I believe I'm okay, Commissioner. Thank you. One early on failure I remember as a department head or administrator was with a cross collaboration of another agency or another government partner that I didn't anticipate. We lined up all the objectives. I thought we were on the same page, but sometimes other offices do not work in the same manner that our office, or in this case, our county government would work. And it taught me that you have to stay on top of it with constant communication, and that although your objectives may align, the style of how you do things are going to be different at times and can delay a project from occurring, which then ultimately the public suffers in those delays and the objective isn't met on time. So I'm a big task and timeline oriented person, and to get that done, you have to have that constant communication, making sure that, again, not only the objectives align, but your style and philosophy of how you go about your work also match, or you're going to be in for delays. So I saw that early on in my career, and I'm cognizant of the fact we do a lot of different partnership because of our broad breadth, especially in the IT space, very important for what we do. So we constantly have to work with other government agencies.
Just follow up.
Sure.
So what did you learn, and how did that change how you lead today?
Precisely what I said, Commissioner. Thank you for the follow-up. What I learned is you can't just have shared objectives. You in management styles, philosophies, the way that offices are organized, those differences can impact a cross-collaboration project, especially with another government agency that doesn't work the way you do. So what I learned from that is when you go about a task, especially when you're partnering, it's not just, and I apologize, I don't mean to be repetitive, but again, this is what I strongly learned. It's not that we see the same light at the end of the tunnel, it's how we're organizing and operating to get there. So now when I go into a project, I make sure that all of that aligns, and I will tell you that in our vast amount of cross-collaboration, because I start with those philosophies, and from my experience of one not working out on time when it should have, there's almost a mental checklist when I negotiate, if you will, or organize where we're headed to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
Thank you. Ms. Ayala?
Of course. Commissioner, one of the most difficult experiences I have had in my career occurred about 20 years ago, and I had a commissioner ask me a very similar question yesterday. About 20 years ago, I had, unfortunately, an employee that was under my supervision, part of my department, that got arrested because he was able to sell the idea, just the idea, that he had the ability to steer processes within the government. He did not, but he was able to sell the idea. And why I took it to heart, because at the end, I was responsible for the appearance and for the reality of what was happening in that department. And it hit me hard for a long time. It led me to revamp how we handle processes at the time completely, so that there was not even the possibility of an idea being sold. It hit me harder as well, and I carried it until to this day, because the employee at one time had been my supervisor, and he came across some very personal situations that made him make some incorrect decisions, right? How that carries to today, until this day, there are two key components to that. One is on the personal level. And I think it's a recognition that every employee and every colleague we interact with may have some personal situations happening, and we never know because we come here to work, right, on a professional level, but that may impact how they conduct themselves in the workplace, right? So I think as leaders, we have an obligation to keep an eye for the professional side and to keep an eye for the personal side without prying, right, but making sure that our staff members are okay. The second component, and I think it has been without doubt transformational in my career, I promised myself that I will never find or be in a position where even the doubt was casted as to what we were doing. And I remember when we were recommending updates to the procurement process here in the county, I had someone from the private sector go with me over and over and over the ordinance and say, well, listen to me, we still feel there's something we're not seeing. And I told that person, keep looking, because I am giving you all the cards. I am not here to play games. I am not here to hide information. And I have made it part of my principle to make sure that as a public servant, people know I am not hiding. I am putting all the cards on the table, that we have transparency.
Thank you. Mr. Clinkscale?
Commissioner, we truly learn from our youthful mistakes. This really sticks with me. I tell the story all the time. As a young management consultant, I was hired to take a team into AT&T Manufacturing in Chicago. And our task was to re-engineer their manufacturing, take out waste, eliminate waste, less defects, less inventory. So my team that I led put together a simulation that totally introduced lean principles. We changed it from a push to a pull system in the simulation, and all the employees were involved in the simulation. So we did a before and after. This is where you currently do manufacturing, and this is the new process. The new process did eliminate waste, did eliminate defects and inventory, but took 1/3 of the workforce. So being naive, I'm thinking I solved the problem. How are we going to re-engineer the workforce? I mean, re-engineer the manufacturing with less defects, less waste, less inventory. And I thought the employees were going to cheer. But all the folks who sat on the side that no longer were needed, I didn't take in consideration. They asked, well, what are we going to do now? They had lived off of rework and doing things 2 or 3 times and tons of inventory. So as a young consultant, I learned that when you actually solve a problem, you have to take all aspects. You have to look at all angles, and you have to look at the ramifications of your decisions. I had not taken consideration that these folks was like, where's my job going? I was a young consultant, and I had a team of 3 or 4 consultants under me, but we had not thought about the human factor, and that changed my whole paradigm going forward. Now, every single decision I make, I say, okay, how is this going to affect a person, or this person, or this person? So you have to come up with solutions. Retraining, you have to have that in your back pocket to say, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to displace you. We're going to retrain you and put you somewhere else that's more value added. We've taken the non-value added out, but now we're going to put you in value added jobs. As a young consultant team, I hadn't taken that consideration, and that stuck with me forever.
Commissioner Flores, you are up next, and Mr. Abruzzo, you'll be first.
So I think for some of you, this might be the first time that you've actually sort of walked in our shoes. We get to campaign, and we get to talk to constituents, and some of us get to do it for 2 years we run campaigns for. And we get a lot of feedback from our constituents, from the business community, from different parts of life. And you've had to maybe 3 months, 60 days total from when you submitted your application to today. And I think that puts you in a little in perspective of what our role is and some of the feedback that you gathered. So my question to you is, Palm Beach County is one of the most diverse counties in Florida, racially, economically, geographically. How would your leadership ensure that the county's policies, investments, and services reflect the diversity equitably, especially for historically underserved areas?
Excellent question, Commissioner. I first want to commend yourself, Commissioner Weiss, Commissioner Sachs, who advocated for the process for us to get out in the public and listen to the community. I'll be the first to say, obviously, I've had some experience in this versus some of the other candidates, so I don't think I should, I probably should be judged a little unfairly on that. So welcome to being a candidate. I always say you don't know what it's like until you actually walk in those shoes, and I think they've done an extraordinary job. With what has occurred from our federal government that I was at my seat on the dais that I watched you all go through. I think you and Commissioner Powell said it best, Commissioner. It's a temporary pause when we dive down into what the federal government has done to us and quite frankly could change. I've had to make certain decisions at our office as well, similar to the commission. But I will tell you that investing in underserved communities is one of the most important things I believe we could all do. But I want to be very careful how I answer that, Commissioner, because as you know, I'm not here to set policy. That is for you all to determine how you feel that is best, and for me to implement it. I will say that speaking to you, you have a incredible district that is on the cusp of extraordinary growth, in my opinion. You sit in prime. In a prime area, your residents, and I speak from representing your area in the Florida House, and I know it quite well. One thing I would like to say that I've been out speaking to the chambers, speaking to community groups, speaking to our first responders, and I remember listening to Miss Baker's retirement party. Our government center's namesake, Administrator Weissman, gave his remarks, and he said, I was chosen as county administrator because the business community, the workforce, both the unions, our first responders, they all supported me and backed me, and he let everybody know in the audience just several weeks ago, that's how he became county administrator, that the community pushed for him. And I believe we have the strong support from all the sectors that I just named. I know many of you have received letters, and that was from being out there for the past 3 months. Proud to have the backing, and hope I answered your question, Commissioner.
Commissioner, a topic that fascinates me. That's the easy way to answer. And I'm saying it like that because it fascinates me enough to spend a year of my life writing a dissertation precisely on diversity and capital improvements. Why? Because it goes beyond what we recently discussed in this board as to DEI and the implications it may have on how the county invests money. It goes deeper to what the county does, how we allocate resources, but furthermore, how is that received by the communities that need those services, and how we bring them to the table in that process. So to your question as to how a county administrator has the ability to guide and provide advice, professional advice to this board, professional staff is the one doing the analysis, where services are needed and what type of services are needed so that you can set that policy. And professional staff, therefore, has, I will argue, a responsibility to ensure that that analysis is comprehensive and takes into account not only what exists and the things that we need to keep going because it's a matter of level of service, but also which areas are lagging behind and what can we do to deliver what those communities need in order to be able to progress in a manner that is equitable with the rest of the county. And that may translate into economic development, and that may translate into making sure that we are reaching to those communities to listen what they want. I think maybe too often, the way we deliver infrastructure from the government perspective is we do it from our view, from the governmental take, analyzing this needs to go here or there based on a level of service analysis. But we not too often take the time to go meet with the community and see their take on that service that we need to provide. About 6 years ago, when I became the FDO director, I made some changes as to how we deliver capital improvement projects. And in all honesty, that change came because I had a horrible community meeting where we were grilled and we were told, you're coming after the fact to give us an update on what the project is. And it served as a learning lesson, and now we go in first and we have as many meetings there need to be where they want the meetings to take place. So if it is a Saturday at 10 a.m., it will be a Saturday at 10 a.m. If it is at their community center, it will be there. If it needs to be at our offices, it will be there. So I'm wrapping that up with saying communication and listening to what the communities need.
Commissioner, the way I characterize this is I live outside of my position. So my former position is Director of Strategic Planning and Performance Management. People tell me, Keith, you're everywhere. Why? Because I need to know the needs of the diverse communities. I took the tour with you to see the CCRT areas. It was amazing. It was eye-opening. But I get out there. I've been to every groundbreaking, every ribbon cutting, every tour. I've done food distribution at Roosevelt Elementary. I sit on the OEB goal setting committee for the last 2 years, helping to establish APIs, affirmative procurement initiatives for small businesses. I see their needs. I see when they come and they want business to do business with Palm Beach County. I'm out there, actually, I understand what the needs are because I'm out there. GTAC out west. I go to those things. All of this outside of my formal position. I've done SWOT analysis and strategic planning for at least half of the departments, meaning I've gone in with their entire leadership team and looked at their strategy, their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and how they service the diverse communities. I know the strategy of pretty much all of the departments and how they actually provide their services to diverse communities. So I have a tactical and a strategic insight into how we do what we do. But you got to get out there and rub elbows. Keith is like, well, people are asking like, wow, Keith, you're here, you're there, because I see my job in terms of being able to do strategy for the county, knowing the needs of the people. And so I demonstrate that. I do food distribution with Houston Tate. I go on CCRT tours. I take employees to break down silos and get them to understand. I created Feed Your Mind tours and put that in our training and education registration where they can actually sign up for those. We're going to the firehouse. We're going to the water reclamation. We're going to 911, animal shelter. We took them to see how we actually service our animals. Employees don't know. But when you know and you're educated, you do better. And you begin to say, you know what? I learned so much from just the CCRT tours that we're actually putting in parks in deserts. Thank you.
The diversity of the county, it's so interesting. I worked on when we redistricted in 2011 and set them then, and then I led our redistricting in 2021. And when you see such significant changes just in that 10-year period, and the board, through the course of our redistricting, was very clear on needing to meet and have our districts reflect how our community had changed. And the makeup we have now shows just that. So we have experienced just monumental change in just 10 years. How to ensure our policies are brought home. Keith touched on Office of Community Revitalization a lot, and just to take it a step further, even beyond what they do on food distributions and other items, you have an agency that performs the county's good work, but coordinates with so many other agencies. We can't do it all. We can't be there for it all. But coordinating with nonprofits, coordinating with just folks in the community who want to do good, but they are that resource, they are that conduit that brings it home. And that's what you have in place now. We fund tons of other agencies that do perform great, great community work as well, directly and indirectly. Those are there as well. And it certainly becomes a challenge at times in a budget season, but there's a balance in finding, delivering on these, delivering how we're ensuring that we are not missing out on those who need a bit more help, hearing them, listening to them, what we're doing to fund it. When I'll go back to community revitalization again. It goes beyond even some of the points. We look at the neighborhoods. It goes into the capital and the infrastructure. And I've worked with engineering on finding some communities in there and monies available when they've had drainage problems and road problems and things of that sort. Back to communication from the bottom up too. we don't always know. We need to hear from them who does need help and how they need help. So a little bit of that two-way street that exists out there, but full commitment from me as your administrator to see that through, and when at all possible, expand it, knowing we have limitations. We can't be everything for everyone, but pushing that mission as far forward, as fast forward as possible, 100%.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward, and we will start with Dr. Glatzo.
Okay. So there are probably thousands of staff members all across the county listening right now. If you are selected to be the next administrator, what would you tell them to expect from you in your first 100 days?
I will start by saying we have probably the best staff that any county can have, okay? And that is important because this process has brought a little bit of uncertainty, and I do think that staff needs to hear that. It's not easy to go through a transition process when you have a county that has operated under two very consistent county administrators for almost 34 years. So to the staff that is listening, I hope that at least I know 400 of them know me directly and know how I operate. I hope that they can see the county in the mirror of what FDO is and what I have been able to do as a department director. I will tell them that they should expect respect, that they should expect openness, that they should expect, at the same time, a leader that looks and likes for performance, for exceptional delivery of services, and that certainly likes to hold herself and everyone else in the team accountable. I will tell them as well that I think collectively we can ensure that the sky is the limit. I will tell them as well that I know there are a number of ideas brewing because they stop me around and they make the comment and they make suggestions as to what things we can tackle. And I would like to reassure them that the door and the space will be open to have those conversations. And I would like to let them know that certainly we will continue to thrive doing what we do best. We are professional staff. We have been trained to do the type of work we do, and I am confident that together we will continue to deliver on that mission. And when we do our job well, it positions, I will argue, the Board of County Commissioners to set the best policy that can be set for this county.
So I documented my plan for the first 100 days. So I'm not going to I'm not going to go off the cuff. I'm going to actually tell you exactly what I put down in my thoughts. Number one, drive organizational alignment and employee engagement. We have 7,000 dedicated employees across 35 departments. My first priority would be to continue to build a unified high-performance culture where every employee understands how their work contributes to the county's mission. I would focus on improving internal communication, reinforcing accountability, and investing in leadership development, ensuring that every team feels seen, supported, and motivated to deliver excellent service to our residents. Number two, break down silos internally and across the county. Silos both within the organization and between the county and other 39 municipalities hinder collaboration, innovation, and efficiency. I would prioritize building better bridges, strengthening interdepartmental collaboration through cross-functional teams, and more transparent data sharing, while also fostering stronger partnerships with municipalities. The goal is to ensure we function as a cohesive system rather than isolated parts. Number three, lead innovation and embrace emerging technologies. The future of local government depends on our ability to adapt and innovate. I would champion the integration of artificial intelligence, automation, and smart technologies to improve service delivery, optimize operations, and enhance resident engagement. We must position Palm Beach County as a forward-thinking government and leverage innovation to solve problems and expand access. Lastly, number 4, optimize resources and align the $9 billion budget with the strategic priorities. The budget isn't just a financial document. Let me say that again. The budget is not just a financial document, it reflects our values. I will work to ensure our $9 billion budget is fully aligned with measurable outcomes and strategic goals. That means applying performance data to drive budget decisions, continuously evaluating return on investment, and prioritizing initiatives that create the greatest value for our residents. That is my first 100 days plan for initiatives: drive organizational alignment, break down silos, lead innovation, and optimize resources to our $9 billion budget.
So my message to our staff members, start with, again, going back in time when I began here, realizing what a great place this is to work and what great opportunities there are for you. You work at smaller organizations, those opportunities to move up might not necessarily be there. Always shared with others when they might have left when I was in the planning division or running a department, when they moved to another county operation, it was tough at times, but if they're staying in the county overall, staying in the family, you've got a good person they're moving. They see those opportunities. And I think we've been so fortunate with so many people taking advantage of those opportunities, moving from department or department. I want to make sure folks still see, know, and understand that they are a very valued staff, that is well understood, that the opportunities are there for them. I am very fortunate in my time to know many, many, many of them who are out there now. I can tell you, doors open because I still get phone calls from people. I still get emails, and that part would not change because you want to hear from as many as you can and get the feedback. It's funny sometimes. I might get an email from someone I hadn't talked to in 2 years, and they would have something to share that you would never, quite frankly, get to. I think having that background and having the trust of people and the knowledge and those relationships brings a great opportunity to instill that trust that's out there. I think, too, when you think about, as we touched on, the long-term stability we've had at the administration level for 35 years, that speaks as much as well to the quality of the staff that we've had through that period of time. Delivering on an administrator's direction from the board, bringing their pieces home. And we've got a staff here that can continue to do that. It will continue to do that. Sharing the sentiment that this is and the knowledge that it is a great place to work. There are times and there are downsides to being in a larger bureaucracy, no doubt about it. But the benefits far, far outweigh any of the negatives that are here. And I think it is such a great place, and I hope our people see it, because I would be there continuing to tout it, what a great place it is to work. Not being afraid of taking on new ideas, listening to new ideas. Again, I think with relationships with people that I've developed over 20 some odd years, knowing a lot more, not afraid to approach you and bring you those ideas. Might not be implementable, might be something that any of us would not have thought of. So look forward to that. Last is, there are 7,000, so you can't be the link and the direct handout and resource. I've worked in cities with 100, 150, 200 employees. Can't do it for everybody. Right link, right way to work with our staff.
Thank you, Commissioner. Speaking from experience, when I became head of our organization, I had a long leeway that would not be afforded at this time. I knew for about 7 months I'd be clerk, so I spent that time virtually going to every department, spending time in every department, meeting with almost every single employee personally that I can, and it paid great dividends. I learned a lot from the organization, and quite frankly, through that process, I promoted many from within. What Isami alluded to, meeting around 400 people in a short amount of time, I think is extremely important. It filters out because everybody's going to be asking, have you spent time with him or her? And it filters. But one thing that I will tell you that I'm going to send a message to the employees, and I think it's important. There's two areas that I would likely like to implement after I need to confer with yourselves and Administrator Von Laren, but two things that I implemented that were not done before that resonated immediately with the employees. Number one, and I spoke about it a little bit last night, Commissioner, is an office, really a career ladder, an office of advancement where the employees could come in and know they map out their career, they tell us their objectives, what they like to see, and help and become more entrenched in our, as we say, clerk family, but here at our county family. I've instituted the Ombudsman's office at the clerk office, which I would like to speak with you about and check your temperature because it's paid great dividends for me. An ombudsman, for those who may not know, and I know a lot of you may, large corporations and the military use them. It's a direct line it's the employee's representative directly to the administrator. It's not part of HR. It goes around HR. They feel they have their own advocate. So if an employee needs something and they feel they're not being heard within the chain of command, they go to the Office of Ombudsman. Or if they just have a great organizational idea that they want to share with the top, the assistants and the administrator, they go to the Office of the Ombudsman. I could tell you that when we implemented that, it was received extremely well. Even to this day, our employees feel that they have a voice. Our employees feel that they have a future. And your question specifically is, I believe, what am I going to be conveying to our employees? It's going to be that I'm going to be there for them, but yet showing that there's action and implementing things like the Ombudsman and a career office that they see from day one. They could touch it, feel it, and work with it. And that's the type of administrator I would be to our employees.
Thank you. And I actually believe we have time for one more round of questions. So Commissioner Sachs, you will be going, and Mr. Clinkscale, you'll be first.
It's me and then lunch?
Yes.
We'll talk fast. Mayor, which candidate do I start with?
Keith.
Oh, very good. Hi, Doctor. 3 of you have been serving in county government for many years, and 1 of you have served in the state and in county government. So our government has been here for over 100 years, and we have just completed a tenure of 2 county administrators who have served for 34 years. If you could tell us one specific thing that you would bring our county up to the 21st century and how you would do it. And we'll start with you, Doctor.
Yes. This is interesting because I always go on the mantra of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I think we need to do some things differently. So the first thing is to actually look at all of our processes, even this agenda item process, and totally automate it. Totally automated. There's no reason that just in OFB alone, the agenda item process touches 8 people. Every time a document or a process touches multiple people, there's opportunity for error. You add to the fact the amount of paper that's used to create the agenda item process to give you what you need. There are municipalities and counties that have re-engineered it and totally made it automated. I add to that, we have to infuse technology and artificial intelligence in how we provide services to our residents. The lead times to obtain a permit, the lead times to do business with us has to be fixed. It's no longer acceptable to wait to be awarded a contract and not be able to start for 6 to 7 months. We have to figure out how to do things differently, less time, less cost. Because here's the thing, there's a difference the way private industry and public industry look at things. See, when you're in private industry, time, you really realize in private industry that time is money. Every delay, every time you, in this case, when we push off an item because you don't have all the information to make a decision, and you push it to another month or another agenda item, 2 down, time is money, and it's waste. I come from a Lean Six Sigma continuous process improvement background. So I'm looking at how we actually utilize the best, how do we utilize your time the best? How do we actually shrink time through innovation, process improvement, and infusing technology? I think that would take us to the next level.
Talking about technology, obviously, is the number one response that comes in a variety of ways. The big one for me as well is the right solution for the right challenge or the right issue. We all get bombarded with different products and different vendors and different contractors out there with ideas. What's the right thing for the challenge that any given department or any given piece of functionality is changing? You've heard a couple discussions about our agenda processing. There are plenty of vendors out there. We're on the cusp of having something like that put together. When you look at, you would have seen it in your budget most recently in engineering, set aside a significant amount of money for a brand new asset management program. 5th level down type information, but when you want to track task orders and track pieces and get out of paper and putting those in file drawers, that's where it is. It requires an investment. It requires an ongoing investment. I think, Commissioner, that's part of the point as well. There's an investment of money. How do we link and ensure that it's money well spent and see that efficiency piece delivered, not just on the human side, but being able to share, yeah, you're coming out ahead dollar-wise by implementing this. Planning, zoning, building's another one. We put the program in place, the EPZB program, in 2007 or 8 or so, and way past time to need to upgrade. They are now, had someone come in and take a look holistically at all their systems, and we'll have a request for proposal out to look at bringing a vendor in for it. We will be back to you to say, let's see what those look like. How much is it going to cost? Does it fit? Does it pair? Can we budget? Do we have the amount of money we need to do it? Right size, right fit, right place. That goes with a lot of them. Believe it or not, we have implemented a lot of technical upgrades. It was just 5 years ago, we were accepting paper for plan review, and everything is online now. We do inspections, a lot of the inspection types, with cameras done remotely. So a lot of pieces. There is a long way to go, and there are new opportunities that drop every day. Back to what's the right one at the right price, that's the right fit for us, that we can put together and implement that delivers what you're looking for. More efficiency, done faster, done the right way.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to handle it from a broader, the question from a broader aspect before I dwindle it down. There's no question that one of the number one challenge, but yet opportunity that we are going to face, whoever is selected as county administrator, is the implementation of AI. It's changing our community, the fabric of our community really as we speak in all walks of life, and that will transcend to the county. I have experience in this. When I became your clerk, very little AI automation was used at our office. We are now conducting on the court side over 40% of our workflow done by AI, and I can tell you it's learning at extraordinary speeds. And I'll be upfront, when I first started, again, 4 years ago, it's been a lifetime in AI. I thought it was more an advanced chatbot. It is anything but. It learns, it gives ideas. It is beyond fascinating. I had some great conversations with Commissioner Weiss about specific companies. There's vendors and companies out there that I believe the county's even having preliminary discussions with that exactly in planning and zoning, LA County and LA City have implemented with the company, and their P&Z turnaround times, or permitting turnaround times, have increased by 30% in 1 year. This is something we have to be on the forefront of. Look, we're either going to stay the way we are, which means we're behind we're behind everybody, or we can lead in the state. And if I'm county administrator, I'm going to try to do the best I can to put us in a position that we can lead in the state.
I am not going to repeat everything that has been said about technology, because early on in this process, I mentioned that there are 3 things that I believe need to be updated as soon as possible, because we are, to an extent, behind the ball. So setting those to the side, I'm going to share with you, Commissioner, the one thing that I would love to see. And I had it in a different place, prior workplace, and something that is called county stat. And I mentioned that last night during the public forum. I'm gonna give my former employer a plug here, right? But if you want to go visit an interesting website, go to Montgomery County and look up county stat. And Vice Mayor Baxter, at some point, I'm gonna say several months ago, you were very vocal as to the ability to be able to go line by line and to pick information where you want to pick it from that budget. A county stat office gives you just that, gives you the ability and even more importantly, gives the public the ability to get a better understanding of what the county is doing, what the metrics are, where they are. But it's metrics beyond reporting, just reporting. It's metrics that are being analyzed statistically to understand what they mean and how they impact our services. And it's information that doesn't need to come through a call, that doesn't need to come through an email, that doesn't need to come through a public record, because the government, based on its own initiative, is saying, here is my footprint, here's what I am doing. And I think that adds a significant level of transparency, and I think it adds value to the labor we do on a day-to-day basis. I like to tell my colleagues that I like them to challenge my decisions and my analysis, because if I cannot defend what I'm going to do, then there's a flaw in what I'm about to implement. And I think the same applies to government operations, right? When we have that level of transparency and different set of eyes can look into what we are doing, it adds value and validates the processes we are running.
Thank you. Well, we actually have 8 minutes left over. We will take a lunch break. We'll come back at 1. As the board directed us last time we talked about this, we were going to do another 2.5 hours of questions in the afternoon. If the board would like to change that and not do another round of questions later on in the afternoon, we can do that. And I see Vice Mayor Baxter's light is on, and then Commissioner Sachs.
Mayor, you're a mind reader. So we have asked the same and different questions and receiving kind of similar answers. I think they have been amazing and consistent, so good job on that. But I don't know how many different ways we can ask any more questions, so I would like to hear from my fellow commissioners. I would, whether it's just finishing this round or it is just moving on past this part of the process, I would be in favor of that.
Commissioner Sachs.
And this has nothing to do with lunch. However, I think that I would like to hear closing statements from our candidates that would summarize the issues that they brought up so succinctly for the last 2 hours. So I would be in favor of Vice Mayor Baxter's idea of closing and then proceeding on to voting. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same thing that Commissioner Sachs just said, allowing the applicants to bring this home, give us a closing argument, and then let us do our part.
I'd actually like to see us finish this round, so when we come back, we'll ask, because we have several commissioners that would not have had an opportunity to ask another question. So I'd like to finish this round when we come back, and then we can take public comment, if there is any public that wants to do public comment, and then we can have closing remarks, and then we can vote. Would that be doable with everybody? All right, so we're going to add a little 6 minutes to our lunch. We'll see everybody back here at 1.